Ravages.
Ravages.
A building that has survived the ravages of time. A building that has survived the ravages of time.
The ravages of war.
Rave.
Rave.
Now I understand why travellers rave about Lapland.
The customers were raving over our homemade chili.
He started raving at me.
Lisa raved on about how awful it all was.
He was still ranting and raving the next morning.
An all-night rave.
Rave music.
Rave parties.
The play got raves from the critics.
The performance earned them rave reviews from critics.
Raven.
Raven.
Ravening.
Ravening.
A pack of ravening wolves.
Ravenous.
Ravenous.
I'm absolutely ravenous.
A ravenous appetite.
I was ravenously hungry.
Raver.
Raver.
Police believe many of the ravers were on drugs. Ravine.
Ravine.
Raving.
Raving.
A raving lunatic.
She was no raving beauty, but at least she looked smart.
Ravings.
Ravings.
The ravings of a demented man.
Ravioli.
Ravioli.
Ravish.
Ravish.
A landscape ravished by drought.
Ravishing.
Ravishing.
She looked ravishing.
A ravishing smile.
Raw.
Raw.
Raw meat.
Grated raw carrots.
Cabbage can be eaten raw.
Raw silk.
In its raw state, cocoa is very bitter.
Raw sewage had been dumped in the river.
The cost of our raw materials has risen significantly.
Software to convert raw data into usable information.
His time here provided the raw material for his novel.
Warhol used everyday items as the raw ingredients of his art.
Raw passion. Linda didn't want to see Roy while her emotions were still raw.
It took raw courage to admit she was wrong.
The skin on my feet was rubbed raw.
Most of our soldiers are raw recruits.
Seeing his face, Joanne realized she'd touched a raw nerve.
Customers are getting a raw deal and are rightly angry.
She shivered in the raw morning air.
Her voice has a raw poetic beauty. His early sketches are raw and unpretentious.
He has the raw talent to become a star.
Turn over the raw edges and stitch. He went on the streets to experience life in the raw.
It was my first exposure to India in the raw.
Sunbathing in the raw.
She flinched, caught on the raw by his question.
Rawhide.
Rawhide.
Ray.
Ray.
The room darkened as a cloud hid the sun's rays.
Rays of light filtered through the trees.
A treatment that offers a ray of hope for cancer sufferers. A treatment that offers a ray of hope for cancer sufferers.
Let's go out and catch a few rays. Let's go out and catch a few rays.
Rayon.
Rayon.
A rayon shirt.
Raise.
Raise. In 1162, Milan was razed to the ground by imperial troops.
Razor.
Razor.
An electric razor.
A disposable razor.
Politically, we are on a razor edge.
Razor blade.
Razor blade.
Razor sharp.
Razor sharp.
Razor sharp teeth.
He has a razor-sharp mind.
Razor thin.
Razor thin.
Razor wire. Razor wire.
Raz.
Raz.
Eddie was razzed by his teammates after the game.
Razzle.
Razzle.
Razzmatazz.
The razzmatazz of show business.
RC.
RC.
Erd.
The 3rd of June.
His 53rd birthday.
RD.
RD.
RDA. RDA.
Re.
They're rebroadcasting the play.
She asked me to redo the essay.
After years of separation, they were finally reunited.
RE.
Ray.
Re or inquiry of the 19th of October.
Reach.
Reach. Chelsea could reach the final of the European Cup.
I had reached the point where I was earning a good salary.
The kids have reached the age when they can care for themselves.
By 2008, that figure is expected to reach 7 million.
Wind speeds reaching up to 180 miles per hour.
Prices rose steadily to reach record levels.
The theatre has reached an agreement with striking actors.
It took the jury 3 days to reach a verdict.
The talks will continue until a conclusion is reached.
We hope to reach our £1 million target by the autumn.
She reached into her bag and produced a business card.
He reached down to help her to her feet.
Kelly reached for his gun.
Louisa reached out her hand to stroke the cat.
It's no good, I can't reach.
She's too small to reach the table.
She fell while reaching down a vase from the top shelf.
The phone lead isn't long enough to reach the bedroom.
A skirt that reaches halfway down her legs.
Her hair reaches down to her waist. We reached London late at night.
The pyramids can be reached by public transport.
I can probably reach him on his mobile.
Cable TV reaches a huge audience.
The news reached us in Lahore.
I just can't seem to reach Ed anymore.
So far, his administration has failed to reach out to hardline Republicans.
Keep chemicals out of the reach of children.
Keep a glass of water within reach.
The beach is within easy reach of the hotel.
He lives in Paraguay, well beyond the reach of the British authorities. The further reaches of the jungle. The upper reaches of the Nile. They lingered in the lower reaches of the Football League.
React.
React. How did Wilson react to your idea?
He reacted angrily to the suggestion that he had lied.
She reacted very badly when her parents split up. You have to react quickly to circumstances. The government reacted by declaring all strikes illegal.
The calcium reacts with sulfur in the atmosphere.
Oil prices reacted sharply to news of the crisis in the Middle East.
The market reacted favourably to the announcement.
Oil prices reacted sharply to news of the crisis in the Middle East.
Quite a lot of children react badly to antibiotics.
He reacted strongly against his religious upbringing.
Reaction.
Reaction.
What was Jeff's reaction when you told him about the job?
The government's reaction to the fuel crisis. An emergency fund was set up in reaction to the famine.
A skilled driver with very quick reactions.
A reaction to the immunization.
She had a severe allergic reaction to the drug.
Certain foods are more likely than others to cause allergic reactions. A chemical reaction in the soil. A reaction against the traditional values of the 19th century.
The revolutionary movement was crushed by the forces of reaction.
Reactionary.
Reactionary.
Reactionary attitudes.
Reactivate.
Reactivate.
Reactive.
Reactive.
A reactive foreign policy.
A highly reactive chemical.
Reactor.
Reactor.
Read.
Read.
I can't read your writing.
She picked up the letter and read it.
Read the instructions carefully before you start.
Children who are just learning to read and write.
Her books are quite widely read.
When I was young, I read every one of his books from cover to cover.
You can't believe everything you read in the papers.
Did you read about what happened to that guy in Florida?
I was shocked when I read of his death.
I read last week that the disease is on the increase.
Daddy, will you read me a story?
Our mother reads to us every evening.
Teachers should read more poetry to children. He glanced at the letter and began to read it aloud.
He plays the violin very well, but can't actually read music.
Are you any good at map reading?
I wasn't sure how to read his silence.
She shook her head, and I read this as a refusal. The poem can be read as a protest against war.
He had accurately read the mood of the nation.
A sign on the outer door read, "No entry."
I think in general the report reads well.
Please read £50 as £15.
For November, on line 6, read September.
Someone should be coming to read the gas meter.
The thermometer read 46 degrees.
I read history at Cambridge.
He wants to read for a law degree.
You can take it as read that we will support the project.
We'll take the Secretary's report as read.
Reading between the lines, I'd say Robert's not very happy.
Want some coffee? You read my mind.
Read my lips. I will not let you down.
She is intelligent and extremely well read.
Can you read that last bit back to me?
It was only a casual remark. I think you're reading too much into it.
Why don't you read out the name of the winner?
He read the last few sentences out to me.
Read the contract over carefully before you sign it.
Spend a couple of minutes just reading through your essay.
You'll enjoy travelling more if you read up on the history of the countries you'll be visiting.
I sat down to have a nice quiet read.
I had a quick read of the report before I left.
I thought his last book was a really good read.
Readable.
Readable. The book is informative and highly readable.
Reader.
Reader.
The book will appeal to young readers.
I've always been an avid reader.
He's a great reader of crime fiction.
The newspaper gradually lost readers during the 1980s.
A reader in sociology at Bristol University.
Readership.
Readership.
A magazine with a readership of 9,000.
They are hoping that the paper will have quite a wide readership.
A readership in linguistics.
Readily.
Readily. Boats are readily available to visitors. The information is readily accessible on the internet.
Jack readily agreed to help.
Readiness.
Readiness.
They stacked the firewood in readiness for the evening campfire.
He stressed the government's readiness to take tough action against terrorists.
Reading.
Reading.
She loves reading.
Reading is taught using a combination of several methods.
Her main reading seems to be mystery novels.
A bit of light reading for my holiday.
There's a list of further reading at the end of each chapter. A supply of interesting reading material.
The book is quite difficult on first reading.
A close reading of the text.
What's your reading of the government's response to this crisis?
A poetry reading at the bookstore.
The first reading is from Corinthians 1, chapter 3. Your report made fascinating reading.
We take temperature readings every 2 hours.
The second reading of the energy bill.
Readjust.
Readjust.
It takes time to readjust after a divorce.
Former soldiers often struggle to readjust to life outside the army.
He readjusted his glasses.
We may need to readjust these figures slightly.
Readjust. Read-only memory.
Read-only memory.
Readout.
Readout.
A readout of all the sales figures.
Ready. Ready. Come on, aren't you ready yet?
When the doorbell rang, he was ready and waiting. Everything's packed and we're ready to leave.
Why does it take you so long to get ready to go out?
I don't feel that I'm ready for my driving test yet. I felt strong, fit, and ready for anything.
At the end of the lecture, I was ready with questions.
We made ready for our journey home.
When will supper be ready?
The computer is now set up and ready to use.
Is everything ready for the exhibition? I've got to get a room ready for our guests.
I had my calculator ready. I'm really ready for a vacation. She looked ready to burst into tears.
He was always ready to help us.
She was ready and willing to work hard.
They need to have ready access to police files.
A ready supply of drink. I had no ready answer to his question. An intelligent man with a ready wit.
The company is short of ready cash.
I tried to ready him for the bad news.
Soldiers stood around with weapons at the ready.
I'm getting a new car as soon as I can scrape together the readies.
They seem to live on ready-cooked meals.
Ready-made.
Ready-made.
A ready-made spaghetti sauce.
The rain gave us a ready-made excuse to stay at home.
Ready meal.
Ready meal.
Ready to wear. Ready to wear. Reaffirm. Reaffirm.
The party reaffirmed its commitment to nuclear disarmament.
The government has reaffirmed that education is a top priority.
Reforestation.
Reforestation.
Reagent.
Reagent.
Real. Real.
There is a real danger that the disease might spread.
We need to tackle the real problems of unemployment and poverty.
There is no real reason to worry.
A coat made of real fur.
She had never seen a real live elephant before.
Artificial flowers can sometimes look better than the real thing.
The children know that Santa Claus isn't a real person.
Dreams can sometimes seem very real.
Things don't happen quite that easily in real life.
The shock of leaving university and going out into the real world. That's not her real name.
What was the real reason you quit your job?
There was a look of real hatred in her eyes.
I got a real sense of achievement when my work was first published.
I remember my first real job.
Simon was her first real boyfriend.
Thanks. You've been a real help.
The house was a real mess.
After 2 trial runs, we did it for real.
A real increase of 6% in average wages.
The average value of salaries has fallen in real terms.
He's real cute. It was real nice to see you again.
Real ale.
Real ale.
Real estate.
Real estate.
A fall in the value of real estate.
Real estate agent.
Real estate agent.
Realign.
Realign.
The company is planning to realign its sales operations.
They have tried to realign themselves with the communists.
You'll have to realign your text columns.
Realignment.
Realignment.
A realignment of the company's management structure.
There is now a need for a realignment of political parties.
The realignment of several major roads.
Realism.
Realism.
He has hope, but also a scientist's sense of realism. The realism of the horses on the carousel.
The tough realism of his early works.
Realist.
Realist.
She had always been a realist, not a dreamer.
Realistic.
Realistic.
It's just not realistic to expect a promotion so soon.
You need to be realistic about the amounts you can do in a day.
Is this a realistic target? I don't think they have a realistic chance of winning.
A realistic portrayal of life in Victorian Britain.
Realistically.
Realistically.
You can't realistically expect to win the whole competition.
Realistically, we're not going to get this finished this week.
Realistically painted toy soldiers.
The novel realistically depicts immigrant life at the beginning of the last century.
Reality.
Reality.
The distinction between fantasy and reality.
TV is used as an escape from reality.
I think the government has lost touch with reality. Political realities.
Millions of people live with the harsh realities of unemployment.
The reality is that young people will not go into teaching until salaries are higher. The paperless office may one day become a reality.
In reality, violent crimes are still extremely rare.
She had never accepted the reality of her pregnancy.
Reality check.
Reality check.
It's time for a reality check. The Bears aren't as good a team as you think.
Reality TV. Reality TV.
Realizable.
Realizable.
Is this a realizable goal?
The company's realizable assets.
Realization.
Realization.
I was shocked by the realization of what I had done.
The realization that she might never recover from her illness.
There is a growing realization that we must manage the Earth's resources. The realization of his dreams. There is a growing realization that we must manage the Earth's resources more carefully. The realization of his dreams.
The realization of assets.
Realize.
Realize.
I suddenly realized that the boy was crying. Do you realize you're an hour late?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize who you were.
It took us a while to realize the extent of the tragedy.
It was only later that I realized my mistake. She never realized her ambition of winning an Olympic gold medal. A young singer who has not yet realized her full potential.
His worst fears were realized when he heard that Chris had been arrested.
Campaign realized $5,000. We realized a small profit on the sale of the house.
Really.
Really.
A really good film. It was really cold last night.
He walks really slowly.
I'm really sorry.
Why don't you tell us what really happened?
Oliver's not really her brother.
I never know what he's really thinking.
She seems unfriendly at first, but she's really very nice.
We really need that extra money.
I really don't mind.
I'm absolutely fine, Dad, really. Do you really think she's doing this for your benefit?
Do you really expect me to believe that?
He's Canadian. Really?
We had a great time in Florida. Really? How lovely.
Glenn can be such a jerk. Yeah, really. Really, Larry, you might have told me. Do you want to come along? Not really.
I don't really know what he's doing now.
You should really go and see a doctor.
He was really and truly a brilliant comedian.
Realm.
Realm.
The spiritual realm.
An idea that belongs in the realm of science fiction.
I suppose it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
Realpolitik.
Realpolitik.
Real property.
Real property.
Real time.
Real time.
A real-time operating system.
The images are created in real time.
Realtor.
Realtor.
Realty.
Realty.
Ream.
Ream.
Reams of notes.
Reanimate.
Reanimate.
Reap.
Reap.
Those who do take risks often reap the rewards.
Reappear.
Reappear.
In March, his cancer reappeared.
Many of these ideas reappear in his later books.
Reappraise.
Reappraise.
People began to reappraise their values.
Rear. Rear.
The rear door of the car.
Knock at the rear entrance.
A garden at the rear of the house.
The hotel overlooks the river to the rear.
A passenger travelling in the rear of a car.
Carol was left to bring up the rear.
It's a good place to rear young children.
The birds have been successfully reared in captivity.
The horse reared and threw me off.
A large rock, almost 200 feet high, reared up in front of them.
Children reared on TV and video games.
The problem of drug taking in sport has reared its ugly head again.